Hello and welcome back to A Quaint Life. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you this easy roasted vegetable gazpacho and sharing a story with you. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Let's go ahead and get started. We're going to start by rough chopping our vegetables onto a baking sheet and roasting them because of course this is a roasted vegetable gazpacho that we are making today. I'm going to do a rough chop on everything here. So the tomatoes, I have green bell peppers, and I'm going to add some onion to this as well. I decided to add a little bit of this yellow squash from my mom's garden just because I have so much of it. It's not in the original recipe, you'll see, but if you do have a little bit of squash or zucchini, feel free to add that as well because gazpachos are very versatile and it really blends up nicely in this. Hi guys, I don't normally pop on my videos like this, but I thought why not do something a little bit different this week. I have about 15 more minutes on those vegetables and I thought I'm just gonna come on here, talk to you for just a few minutes while we wait for those and share with you a story on how I actually learned how to make gazpacho. A lot of my recipes, I get questions a lot from people who want to know where I get inspiration for creating recipes. And of course, if you've made any of them from the blog, you know that there is a lot of times a story associated with those recipes. But if you have not yet gone over to the blog and checked it out, you might not know that. And so a lot of times I get inspired when we travel or when we go to really nice restaurants. We will have something and have this really nice experience around the meal, and I will quickly come home from either a trip or the restaurant and I will try my best to recreate what it is that we had on that trip and share it with you guys. And so this is definitely a recipe that I am sharing from one of our travels. We went to Barcelona just a few years ago, my daughter and I, and we decided to take a quick trip day out, a one-day trip out from Barcelona, about an hour away from there, and we went to a place called Montserrat, Spain, and it's this mountain town that you have to take a sort of, I guess it would be a cable car up to the mountain. I was absolutely terrified as we pulled up and saw these little tiny yellow, I would call them tiny, I couldn't believe how many people they actually fit on these things, but it's just being moved by a cable up the mountainside, and it is terrifying to ride. My daughter had a great time riding it and thought it was actually pretty funny how terrified I was, but they just pack you in like sardines and you go up this huge mountain, and if I have a clip of it I will show you in the video. Anyhow, so we spent the day there and I just on a whim actually bought tickets to do an additional, so we had a tour guide there but we were able to kind of go off on our own, and we actually were lucky enough there was only one other couple that purchased tickets for this, so we got the whole van to ourselves, and we really didn't have to stick with them. We had to meet them later on. When it was time to go to the winery to have our lunch, we had to meet back at the van, and when we did, we had to go back down that horrible mountain, and we got into the van and he began driving us to the vineyard. And as we drove though, he was finding these really weird dirt roads, and I started to become very nervous because it was just the few of us in this van, myself and a couple from I think Chicago, if I remember that right, and the guide, and I just remember thinking, oh my gosh, this was a dire mistake on my part. I don't know. I got nervous quite a few times this day because the mountain ride was enough, and then this dirt road really scared me. We were on it for a long time, and then finally the vineyard appeared in front of us, and it was like out of a movie. It was picturesque. It was beautiful, and there was peaches growing, there was orchards and nuts growing, and they served it to us on the table in the center of the table, and also lots and lots of grapevines. It was a vineyard, of course. They made wine there, and and they had us taste their wine, and it was a great experience. And immediately, though, for food, they did serve gazpacho there. And at first, it was a warm summer day, so I thought, this is really a strange thing to serve us. Of course, I didn't say anything, but in my mind, I was thinking it looked like a bowl of soup from a distance, and I hadn't had gazpacho up until that point, and I had no idea that it was served chilled. And so when they placed it in front of us, we tasted it, and I thought, this is really not right. Because when you are used to eating warm soup, it might be weird at first to think of eating a chilled soup. But as we sat there and enjoyed it, it began to be very refreshing. And so it's something that I have recreated at home. But as we ate it, I was lucky enough to sit with the guide, who was Catalonian himself, and he told us how his mother made it and some of the very key ingredients that needed to be in a good gazpacho. And so this recipe that I'm sharing with you today is very much a traditional, authentic Spanish gazpacho. You can, of course, in the video I do talk about how you can add what you'd like to it because it does blend up, but sticking to this very key factors of serving it with some drizzle of olive oil, having the soaked bread in the vinegar, and of course using green bell peppers. He was very specific on that, on using those, but this is very similar to the gazpacho that we had on that warm summer day in a vineyard in Barcelona. And I hope that you enjoy this recipe. I hope you give it a try because it really is great for those summer vegetables that I know a lot of us are pulling out of the garden. As you guys know, I have a garden, and my mother also has a large garden this year that I've shown in a couple of the videos, and we've been going over weekly and getting buckets and buckets of fresh veggies. So if you have things like squash or zucchini, don't be afraid to add those in the video. Actually, I am using just a touch of the yellow squash because I have so much, but it's not actually in the recipe link. But I'm just showing that so that you can know that if you do have something like that that you'd like to add, go ahead and add it because gazpacho is a very versatile soup to make. All right, so it looks like our vegetables are just about done. I'm going to go ahead and get my food processor out. If you have a blender, use that. I'm going to show you what goes into this and how I like to serve it. I hope that you give this recipe a shot and that you enjoy it, and most importantly that you enjoy this video. Now that our vegetables are ready, I'm going to let them cool completely before using, and while they're cooling, I'm going to peel and seed 2 cucumbers. All right, let's get everything into our food processor, and once I have that in there, I'm going to add a teaspoon of cumin, a good pinch of sea salt, and if you like it spicy, add a teaspoon of red pepper flakes. If you don't, just leave those out. And I'm going to mix it up really good, and then I'm going to add 2 pieces of day-old bread that I have soaking in sherry vinegar. I have about 2 tablespoons of sherry vinegar on this bread. If you don't have sherry vinegar, you could use red wine vinegar for this, but we're going to blend it into the vegetables and it'll make it nice and creamy. Now that our bread is blended into our gazpacho, it is all ready to go. I'm going to put it into a mason jar like I'm doing here, or you could just put it into a bowl and get it into the fridge to chill for 3 hours before serving. It's been a few hours and it's ready to serve, and one of the most important things about gazpacho is how you serve it. I like to serve mine with homemade croutons. I have extra day-old bread here that I just cut up into cubes. I'm going to grill it up into a pan with olive oil, salt, and pepper and make croutons from those. And what I do is serve it in a bowl in the center of the table so you can add as you like. To finish it off, I add a drizzle of olive oil and a few of those croutons to the center. If you don't like the bread component to your gazpacho, you can go ahead and add just a few chopped vegetables to the top. That's a very traditional way of serving it as well, but I always put a drizzle of olive oil. I want to thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you've enjoyed this video, and I hope that you give this recipe a try because it's a really great way to use those garden veggies. You could find the link from the blog post in the description box below if you'd like the recipe link for it. And again, thank you so much for watching. I will see you on the next video.